Your Google Discover traffic has taken a hit and you're wondering what went wrong. Well, let's take a look at all the different factors which affect a website's Google Discover traffic and hopefully narrow down on what has affected yours. At this point, Google Discover is one of the largest sources of traffic for a lot of publishers. In fact, I was just going through a Neiman Lab research and it stated that a few publishers in the US are actually getting more traffic from Google Discover compared to Google search. It's really surprising, right? And I think this can happen in other parts of the world as well. So you will be able to drive a lot of traffic without significantly putting in a lot of effort. Now, let's identify the different reasons because of which your Google Discover traffic can plummet. Point number one, slow mobile pages. Now, since Google Discover is a mobile first product, mobile page load speed makes a huge difference here. You need to first check your TTFB time, which is the time to first byte. Now, this is the time it takes for the first byte to be sent to your browser from your website server. The longer the time, the poorer the experience. Now, in order to check your TTFB time, you can go to a website like speedvitals.com, and over there, it will evaluate your website TTFB across multiple regions. Now, improving your TTFB time will help your website load faster, providing a better user experience, and naturally, Google is going to be more confident to recommend it on Google Discover. If you want to fix this and you don't know how you can fix your time to first byte, you can drop in a comment, and if I get a lot of comments, I will make a video on how you can improve your TTFB time. Point number two, crawling issues. Now, crawling issues are a leading reason for Google to drop traffic that they send from Google Discover. Naturally, if Google's crawler cannot fetch your content, it's not going to recommend that content to the audience. The first place you need to look at is your Google Search Console. Over there, you will be able to identify all the different pages that are having crawling issues. The first point of action would be to fix all the crawling issues. Once you fix them, you can request a manual recrawl. However, if there are multiple pages that have crawling issues, it would be a good idea to fix all of these pages and then upload a fresh sitemap and request a recrawl from Google. This will ensure that multiple pages can get fixed at one go itself, instead of you having to go to each one of them and request a manual recrawl. Point number three, content isn't fresh. Now, before I make this point, I would want you to go to your Google Discover feed and take a look at all the articles that are visible there. I can bet that none of them would be older than 5 days because Google Discover likes serving fresh content to the audience. Now, if the content that was driving a lot of Google Discover traffic to your website is outdated or is no longer fresh or relevant, you will see a drop in the traffic that's coming from that particular article and Google Discover. A workaround for this is to update older articles to keep them still relevant, but it should only be updated if you have anything that adds value. So updating the older page only makes sense when you have fresh piece of update or fresh information to add there. Simply updating the date of the post or the time is not going to help. In fact, Google is probably going to drop it completely out of Discover if you do this. If you're a news publisher, ensure that you publish content in a timely fashion. Also, it would be a good practice to follow Google News guidelines. I'll add a link for it in the description. Now, the fourth reason why you are missing out on your Google Discover traffic is that you've been hit by an algorithm update. If your website is hit by a Google core update, chances are that your Google Discover traffic will also take a hit. Take a look at the timeline in which a Google core update has rolled out. Go to your Google Analytics and look at the same timeline. If you're seeing a dip in your website traffic during a core update, it's likely that you're hit by a Google core update. And it's only when you're fixing the issues that have caused this drop will you be able to recover from it. Now, there have been multiple core updates. The recent ones have been the helpful content update, the August core update, and the site reputation abuse update. You can check what these updates are looking for in content. Now, let's take the helpful content update for example. With this update, Google is checking how helpful is your content for the reader. So if the content is purely written for optimizing for search engines and it's not really helpful for the reader, it's going to naturally rank your website lower in SERP. As a result, it also sends a signal to Google Discover that the content in this particular website or this particular article is not really helpful to the reader, but it's been written to game search engines. naturally it's going to get dropped off from Google Discover as well. Another instance where I have noticed core updates making a huge impact is if you have a lot of AI written content on your website. So AI written content used to rank well some time back, but now Google has been able to identify AI written content, and the motive behind it is usually to game search engine. So naturally, it's not helpful and it gets dropped off both in Google search and in Google Discover. Point number 5, seasonal content. So seasonal content stands for topics which are relevant only for a short period of time. I'll give you an example. If you have an article on winter wear or winter clothes, it's not going to be relevant throughout the year. It's only going to pick up steam during the months of winter or probably sometime before it. Naturally, if the article you've written is seasonal in nature, you will see it dip as the demand or the relevancy of it drops off. A good way of keeping steady traffic is to identify other content or trends that follow your seasonal content. This way, post your winter dress collection article, you can have one on summer wear or even monsoon wear for that matter. And that way, you will be able to have a steady stream of traffic from Google Discover. The other added advantage here is someone who is completely engaged with your article on winter wear is more likely to engage on the other seasons as well. This gives Google confidence to send more traffic your way. Point number 6 is low EEAT. As you know, EEAT stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness is a ranking factor for Google search. So if your website holds true to this particular ranking factor, it will naturally get traffic from Google Discover as well. So if you are an expert in a particular domain, you have a lot of demonstrated experience in that domain, you can speak with authority since you have spent multiple years writing the same kind of content, and your users trust you with the content that you've produced. The stronger your EAT score, the more likely are you to get traffic from Google Discover. I'll try and explain this with an example. If you are a publisher primarily dealing with finance related content, if you were to write one on fashion, for example, your finance articles are going to rank well. I can assure you that. But the fashion articles are not going to rank as well. It will rank to some extent given your DA score, but given the lack of your experience or authoritativeness in this particular field, you're not going to rank as much. So a good idea would be to pick topics where EAT is super strong. So for example, if you've been publishing smartphone reviews on your website for a couple of years, having content on the same or even related topics would fetch you good results. And ultimately, the last point would be poor engagement on your site and the article that you've published. So Google Discover is open to sending traffic your way as long as the audience that it's sending to you is engaged with the content that you've produced. Even if you look at articles that rank on Google search, the ranking tends to change when engagement is affected. After all, Google values the traffic it's sending and it wants this traffic to engage with your website. If a competitor has a more engaging page, it will rank better than you in some time. Now, in order to boost engagement, you can look at audience retention tools or audience engagement tools. There are multiple ones out there. Now, push notifications is a great way to engage your audience. We've done multiple push notification videos on this channel, how to set one up, the different providers as well. But if you quickly want a recommendation, I would recommend you to take a look at Isoto. It's been the easiest to set up and engage audiences easily. Push notifications are going to help you quickly get a lot of your audience to a particular page. Now, this also sends a signal to Google that a lot of people are on a particular website and they are engaged for a long time. So naturally, this will be a factor to rank this particular page better on Google Discover. So these were some of the main reasons why Google Discover traffic gets affected. I hope it helps. Thank you.